Have you ever wondered why when you hold down the Alt key and press different numbers on your number pad on your keyboard, it suddenly spawns a character on the screen? I never really wondered because I just assumed that it was a fact of life or a fact of computers. That's just what happens when you held down the Alt key, but that's not quite it. It's actually there for a reason. If you're relatively literate when it comes to programming or computers, you would know what an ASCII table is, and that stands for American Code Standard. No, it's American Standard Code for Information Interchange. That's what it stands for, I'm pretty sure. And what an ASCII table is it's a one-to-one mapping of numbers to characters that can appear on the computer screen. There's a total of 256 different characters. 0 to 255 are the values that are mapped to them. And you're gonna say, why exactly 256? The reason for that is because that is a total number of different combinations you can show within a total of 8 bits or 1 byte. So an ASCII table lets you look up what certain values are associated with certain characters. For example, the letter A is, I believe, the number 65 on the ASCII table. If it's a capital A, if it's a lowercase a, it's the number 91. I'm pretty sure. Well, when you hold down the Alt key and press different numbers on the number pad, it doesn't just randomly spit out a character, it actually goes and looks up on the ASCII table what that character should be. But Eric, what about when the number is greater than 255? Again, for those of you who are familiar with programming, it simply takes the modulus of the number that you entered in the number pad. And those of you who aren't familiar with programming, all it does is it divides the number you entered by 256, and then takes the remainder and uses that number instead. So entering the Alt combination 1 is the same exact thing as entering the Alt combination 257 or 513 and so on and so forth. If you've ever messed around with the Alt combinations and just pressed random numbers, you might have come up with a strange looking character that just appears on the screen. For example, the smiley face. You know, why is that an Alt combination? It's not actually a smiley face. The actual character that maps to is called the SOH character or the start of heading character. In a lot of file types like JPEG or zips, there's something called a header which contains information about the file you're about to open. The start of heading character identifies where that actually starts. Now there's not an end of heading character, there's actually a start of text character, which comes right after it in the ASCII table. And that tells you where your information for your file starts. So why does it show up as a smiley face instead of an SOH character? The reason for it is because an SOH character isn't something that can visually be represented. It's an instruction for the computer. However, for you can't interpret that instruction because you're not a computer, you don't speak binary, and if you do, that's kind of weird. But it shows a smiley face because that's just the standard nowadays. It's a mapped value. The smiley face is mapped to the SOH character. If you've ever been lucky enough to spam different Alt combinations without knowing what you're doing and get a black box or a weird looking shape, that's not by accident. Back in the days of 640 by 480 pixel screens, you didn't have a lot of processing power to generate these beautiful overlays or these HD screens, and so the computer engineers and the programmers had to come up with a unique way that could show very beautiful menus without actually using a ton of computing power. And how did they do that? They mapped characters that looked like sides of menus or corners of menus to ASCII values, and those ASCII values could then be represented in the system and easily populated on the screen. And that's what I think is really cool. These guys are the perfect example of great engineers. They took this really complicated idea of making these user-friendly, beautiful menus, and they had limited resources, they didn't have a lot of memory or processing power, and they solved it by simply reducing the amount of stress it goes on the system. And it still came out wonderfully. It's such a cool thing. I'm probably one of the few people who's actually blown away by this, but I just thought it was really cool. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.